Hello, fifth grade families, and welcome to STEM Night. In this activity, students are challenged to build a glider that will glide as far as possible. Using the materials provided, students will cut and tape various hoops to their straw. They will experiment with hoops of different sizes, positioning, and throwing styles. The standard we will be covering throughout this activity is 5P1. Understand force, motion, and the relationship between them. Now, this standard was taught earlier in the year, and I'm sure your student can tell you all about it. But in case they have forgotten, I have included some key points that they will need to remember throughout this activity. To begin, gravity is what pulls any object on or near the earth toward it without touching it. The greater a force is, the greater the change in motion it produces. And distance divided by time is used to determine the speed of an object. Now, with this activity, students do not have to determine the speed of their object. They really are focusing more on the distance. But in case they would like to determine the speed, they can do so by dividing distance by time. So, for this activity, you will need 3 to 4 index cards, one roll of tape, one pair of scissors, 3 to 4 straws, and markers are optional if you would like to make it pretty. So, before you begin, make some predictions. Think about these things. What do you think would work better, a shorter straw or a longer straw, and why? Do you think the small hoop should be the front of your glider or the back of your glider? Now, this is just where you can put your thoughts down. What do you think will work best? You will have the opportunity to build different gliders. So you can try a shorter straw and a longer straw, or you can mix up the placement of your hoops. But just get your thoughts down here before you begin. So now it is time to assemble your glider. First, you will need to get one of your straws and determine the length you want to start with. Do you want to try a short straw or a long straw? Think about the prediction you just made. Which size did you think would work best? I would start with that length of a straw. So after you've cut your straw, you need to take one of your index cards and cut it into thirds. After you have cut your index card into thirds, you will use one of those pieces to form the small hoop. You will need to just make it into a hoop and tape it to your straw. After you have done that, you will use the other two pieces of your index card to form a larger hoop. You will need to tape both of those pieces together and then tape that hoop to your straw. You can determine if you want the small hoop in the front or the back. In my example here, you can see that I chose to put the small hoop in the front and the larger hoop in the back, but you can do it however you think will work best. Remember, you are trying to build a glider that will go the farthest. Your goal is to build one that will travel the farthest distance. Now, you do have a couple straws and a couple index cards, so you can build as many gliders as you have. So, after you have built your glider, throw it and determine how far it went. To determine your distance, you will need to measure from where you threw your glider to where it ended. After you through your glider, you can also determine the speed. Remember, you can determine speed by distance divided by time. So the distance it traveled divided by the time it took to travel that distance, and that will give you your speed. Now, again, that's not super important for this activity. What's most important is the distance, but in case you want to challenge yourself, determine the speed. Now, after you have built your first glider and threw it, change it up a little bit. Move your small hoop to the back or vice versa. Determine what you need to change to help your glider go further. You can change the length of your straw, you can change the size or the placement of your hoops. You change it up to see what you can get to work best. After you have used all of your index cards and all of your straws, see which one flew the furthest. After you have finished building all of your gliders, think about these questions. How did your glider do? What worked best? Thinking about all the different ways you built your glider, what worked best? Approximately how far did your glider go? And if you could change something, what would you change about your hoop glider and why? So, thinking about your hoop glider and the distance that it traveled each time, what do you think you could change to help it go further? Well, that wraps it up. Thank you so much, fifth grade families, for joining us tonight for STEM night. If you have any questions, as always, you can reach out to your teacher. They would be glad to help you. Come back to school tomorrow and tell your teacher about your hoop glider that you built. They would love to know what worked best for you.